Alright, 9.2 is about solving linear inequalities. Linear equality is just where each term contains only one variable and the exponent of each variable is 1. So we're not going to have an x squared, we're not going to have an x cubed, it's just going to be, just like your linear function, except for instead of y equals 3x, it's going to be y is greater than 3x or y is less than 3x. Solving linear inequalities is very similar to how you would solve a linear equation. So example 1, we're solving using basic operations. So look at these kind of three different functions. Alright, let's look at the first one. We have x plus 2 is less than 4. If that was x plus 2 equals 4, what would you do? You have minus 2 on both sides. So we're going to do that in this case. We're going to minus 2 and minus 2, so that we're left with x is less than 2. You use the same inequality sign. Now the next one we have x divided by 2 is greater than 4. How would we solve that if it was x divided by 2 equals 4? We would times both sides by the reciprocal of 1/2, which in this case would be just timesing it by 2. Those would cancel, times that by 2. So x would be greater than 8. And lastly, we have 2x is less than or equal to 4. So to get rid of that 2, we divide it, x is less than or equal to 2. Alright, for example 2, we're going to consider the function, or consider the inequality, 3 minus 2x is greater than or equal to 15. You guys have seen this before. I know you know how to solve these. We're solving for x. And just kind of treat that, for now, treat the greater than or equal sign just like it's an equal sign. So the first thing we would do is get rid of this 3. So minus 3 on both sides. So negative 2x is greater than or equal to 12. Now, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, and in the previous section, if we divide by a negative, we flip our inequality sign. So x is less than or equal to negative 6. Alright, for the next example, consider the inequality 2x is less than or equal to 3 minus x. So we want to get the x's on the same side of the equation. Add x, add x. So we've got 3x is less than or equal to 3. Divide by 3. Do we flip our signs this time? We do not. Because we did not divide by a negative, we divided by a positive. So we do not flip the sign. Alright, example 4 gets a little more tricky. We have the equation, or the inequality, 3 over 2 times 1 minus x is greater than 1/4 minus x. So the first thing we want to do, just like if you were solving an equation, you want to distribute that 3/2 to the 1 and to the negative x. So we would have 3/2 minus 3/2 x is greater than 1/4 minus x. Now, let's get the x terms kind of on the same side. So why don't we go ahead and add, actually, anyone remember the shortcut way to get rid of the fractions? What we can multiply? Let's multiply by the LCD. So in this case, the LCD would be 4. So we're going to multiply everything by 4. So that's going to give us, let's see, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6, minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 divided by 2, again, we've got 6x. This is greater than 4 times 1/4, that's just going to be 1, minus 4 times x, so minus 4x. Makes it much simpler than you're not dealing with trying to find common denominators if you do it this way. So now let's combine our x's on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and change colors first. I'm going to add 4x here and add 4x here. So I now have 6 minus 2x is greater than 1. So go ahead and bring that 6 over. So negative 2x is greater than negative 5. Move it up here. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. Because we divided by negative 2, flip our inequality sign, so then we have that x is less than positive 5 halves. Example 5 is a linear inequality application. So here we have the equation, we have the word problem that the velocity v in feet per second of a missile in terms of the time t in seconds is given by the equation v equals 960 minus 32t. We want to know for how long is the velocity positive. Now, because velocity is a vector, it can also be interpreted of like how long is it moving upward. That's why we're just looking at, well, how long is our velocity positive in this case. So for velocity to be positive, that means it has to be greater than 0. So our velocity has to be greater than 0. So let's go ahead and set our velocity, 960 minus 32t, has to be greater than 0. We're just going to solve for t. So here we can minus 960 on both sides. You could also add 32t, that'd be fine. So now here we have negative 32t is greater than negative 960. Divide by both sides. And we have that t is less than, because we have to flip our signs, t is less than 30 seconds. Example 6, we're going to solve linear equalities with 3 members. So remember that's just basically 3 different sides, you could say. So let's look at the inequality. Negative 1 is less than 2x plus 3, which is less than 6. Now, we're going to follow the same steps we would if we were solving an equation. However, we're just going to basically do that operation 3 times. So for instance, for here, we're looking at that 2x plus 3. We're trying to get the 3 away from the 2 first. So we're going to minus 3 here. Now, we would also minus it to the other side of the equal sign, or inequality sign in this case. But we have 2. So we're going to minus it on both sides. So now we have that negative 4 is less than 2x, which is less than 3. Now, how do we get the 2 away from the x? We divide. So if we're dividing by 2 here, we divide by 2 on the left, divide by 2 on the right. So now we have that negative 2 is less than x, which is less than 3 halves. This will be our final answer. Alright, for example 7, we're going to look at, again, solving an inequality with 3 members. So here we're going to solve 2x is less than x minus 4, which is less than or equal to 3x plus 8. Now, because we can't really isolate x in the middle of kind of any of them yet, we're going to split this inequality up. So we're basically going to take this piece, and then we're going to take this piece. So first we've got 2x is less than x minus 4. Then we're going to solve x minus 4 is less than or equal to 3x plus 8. So we have 2 equations, so let's quickly solve those. So on the left, we're bringing x over, so x is less than negative 4. And on the right side, let's go ahead and bring our 3x over, so minus 3x. So we've got negative 2x minus 4 is less than or equal to 8. Add 4. Negative 2x is less than or equal to 12. Divide by negative 2. So then x, we're going to flip our sign, is greater than or equal to negative 6. So here we see that this is a solution and this is a solution. X is less than negative 4 and x is greater than negative 6. So if we graphed this, and let's say this is negative 6, negative 4. X is less than negative 4, but x is greater than or equal to negative 6, shaded between there. Our last example is an inequality application. It says in emptying a wastewater tank, one pump can remove no more than 40 liters per minute. If it operates for 8 minutes and a second pump operates for 5 minutes, what must be the pumping rate of the second pump if 480 liters are to be removed? So let's set x and y. Let's define those. Let's let x equal the first pump. And let y equal pump 2. So we know that the amount of water of pump 1 plus the amount of water for pump 2, so pump 1 plus pump 2, equals the total, which is 480. That we know. That's what we need. So we're going to make an equation. So if pump 1 does, it goes at rate x for 8 minutes. So 8 minutes times rate x is how we could write that. Pump 2 goes 5 minutes times rate y. This total equals 480. Now, we also know that pump 1 can be no more than 40. So that means x, which is pump 1, has to be greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 40, because it can be no more than 40. So let's go ahead and solve our equation for x. So minus 5.0 to both sides, and you've got 8.0. X equals 480 minus 5.0 y. Divide both sides by 8. Divide by 8.0. So x equals 60 minus 0.625y. That's an expression for x. And we know that x has to be between 0 and 40. So we're going to take this expression here and plug it into that. So we're going to say, and change colors, we're going to say that 60 minus 0.625y has to be greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 40. I'm going to clear my board a little bit and move this up. All right, that looks better. So we're going to now solve this equation that we have here for y. So we're going to minus 60 on all 3 spots. So we now have that negative 60 is less than or equal to negative 0.625y, which is less than or equal to negative 20. Divide everything by negative 0.625. This gives us that 96, flip your sign, is greater than or equal to y, which is greater than or equal to 32. If I don't like the way that's written, we're going to go ahead and make it go from smallest to biggest. So kind of rewrite this. So your final answer should be 32 less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 96, and that's liters per minute. This would be your final answer. This would be the pumping rate of the second pump. It can be between 32 liters and 96 liters per minute is how much the second pump can pump.